Witches, I need something cool to wear, something that's as this grand and roll has flair. Bitches, beware, you gotta get some blue paint in your underwear. Threads of destiny make me look so cool. Threads of destiny, don't be tripping, tie your red ribbon round this undead fool.
It's the Making Star Wars show.
Ass Man.
Ass Man?
Yeah, Ass Man, Jerry. I'm Cosmo Kramer, the Ass Man.
Bishop's got butts. Bishop's got butts. Bishop's got butts. So good on the show. So good on the show.
Jason is here.
Bastard.
You son of a... It did not want to unmute my mic. It was like, it had its hand around my neck. Hi, I'm
YouTube was
Jason
like,
Ward.
no show.
What?
We don't want it. YouTube.
What
says
is
we don't
this
want the
opening?
show. We don't want it.
Hi, I'm
It's a
Jason
dumb
Ward
show.
from MakingStarWars.net, and I'll read anything on the screen right now. You put it on there, I'll read it. How's it going, Rob?
Poor YouTube hosts that just read anything that's handed to them. Right? Poor guys. Poor guys.
Making Star Wars is journalism? Okay. If you have a question mark, I'll read it like a question. No. Yeah, so...
Does it help if we just keep a journal that says, Sketchcraft wants to kill everyone on Earth, but Jason...
No, but you should definitely keep a dream journal and read it
Dream
on the show. I think...
Man, you say dream journal, and I think Snake Man and Freddy 3. Do I get to fight the dreams? Because that's... I gotta tell you, Jason, short story. So I used to work for my dad. He had his own private security. He calls it a company, but if it's like one guy hiring randos and it's pretty much him, it's like his business, right?
Oh, yeah. Standard American company.
And unlike every other Nepo baby, my dad made me work harder than everyone else. I was doing 100 hours a week, right?
And now he draws Spawn. America.
Yeah, I know. And I won't lie, Jason, I've never done hallucinogens, but I started to hallucinate cobras.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you don't sleep, the dreams will come for you, right? Like they will appear in real life. I have never had an experience before. That's when I quit. I'm gonna die. I'm seeing snakes.
Yeah.
Snake Man.
A woman I go to school with, who's a nurse, and they made her work a bunch of random weird hours, like in a row. And she needed to go grocery shopping really bad, and she went to Costco, and she got confused. She got lost in Costco and couldn't get out. So yeah, weird shit happens to you if you don't sleep. So you should definitely sleep, bro.
I love basic training, Jason. So much sleep.
Yeah.
So much easier than my life.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways,
hi,
hey
chat.
man. Hi chat. How you doing? Bun sauce. Bitch he punked us out yesterday in the comments. You see it, Jason?
No. What did he do?
He was like, "You bitches need to do a show."
Yeah. Well,
and I was like,
that's why we did one, because we didn't.
And I was like, but MZX 998646 says I shouldn't.
Yeah. Right.
And we know that guy. He knows.
How can they both be right and wrong at the same time? That's the amazing part. I think
the conundrum of libertarians.
But yeah. So we got a couple of little news things. There's not like really a lot going on. It's super quiet at the moment, obviously. in reality, because the actors haven't come to their deal yet. They almost did. I've seen a lot of actors and talent getting really annoyed with the guild, thinking, "Nah, this is just gonna kill us now." It's what they like think. Hello, Tomas. How's it going, dude? Um, but I kind of I get
Snyder
where
was
that.
alluding to that yesterday on the hot mic, that he says that
Yeah.
people just want to get back to work.
No, they like
Roka, who's in
do.
SAG, says yeah, but they need, it's like a difference between a 20% share and a 36% share or something, and AI, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worth them like fighting for in the end, I think. But yeah, that is the talk, is that the
Well, leadership is voluntary, right? Like people within the guild volunteer for leadership at some point. Am I correct? Is that how it works? Do
yeah.
they vote?
Yeah, and then
So
but they still must vote. So if everyone thinks the nanny is full of shit, then they won't vote with the nanny, even though she's supposed to be like their like rep essentially. Um,
right.
but yeah, I'm seeing more from the older crowd. The people that have been in Hollywood for decades are the ones that are like, this is gonna kill us. And then it's the people that haven't been that are like, nah, fuck that. We don't want to be in Hollywood for decades in this system like this. So fuck it, let's kill it then. You know what I mean? If we have to kill it, then let's Kylo Ren it. Basically, let the past die. Is what they're kind of going with it. And but I would say that there's the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that, because the old guard are the ones who got us into the place that we're in now. So they fucked up. So
This
what
is
they have
Barbara
to say,
Bel Geddes' fault. What Barbara Bel Geddes ever done?
I just blame the nanny. Just
She was
blame
she was trying to be
Drescher.
way too supportive of Jimmy Stewart, and just broke my heart, that whole film.
But
Hmm.
yeah, so it's obviously it's a compromise, but I still, because eventually, I mean, I think it stands to reason that technology will outpace the guild, and the ability to use technology just to say bye, we just won't use
Can
you ever again. It is
can
completely down the
well,
road. The singularity is going to kill Hollywood and capitalism, realistically.
there is no
So
singularity. It's just a Google engine 2.0. But
no, 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 no.
it's not
We're
a hive
no,
mind.
Rob. I didn't say Google fucking made the singularity happen. That's just you just said that. I'm saying by 2045, you think that we're not gonna reach that? You think that we're
No, I
gonna
think we're still going to be wondering why
well
rent's too much, and
it no
they're going to
oh
blame avocado toast.
I mean, you could keep that level of cynicism, and it still will kill Hollywood. They will still find a way to fire everybody and profit off of it. So in your dystopian version of the singularity, it's the same outcome. You know what I mean? The executives don't need humans anymore to such an extent that they fire 90% of the labor force and then have the operators of the stuff. Because, like, when you get down to it, I mean, the AI's ability to copy sound and visual will be there. It will only get better. It's not likely going to
Except,
get worse.
yeah,
In
except here's
in
the
25
problem,
years,
right?
imagine Indiana Jones in 25 that we just got. It's subpar. I admit it.
Yeah, but
But in
but let me
25 years, it will be fucking better.
tell you the problem with it. It doesn't matter the quality, good or bad. I'm just going to be honest with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this play out a few times in the graphic design industry. First, it happened with clip art, and then it happened with once Illustrator came out and everyone could trace everything on their own.
Sure.
So, because things like t-shirts and graphic design happen in volumes and immediacy, things happen quicker there than out in the rest of the world. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a fact. Like, it happens so fast. So what happens is people get a tool that can somehow make things move faster, right? Pre-made assets, style guides are a thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Pre-made things are pre-made. Things are already done for you. The thing is, it doesn't act. What happens is everyone in that field just ends up doing the same thing everyone else is doing. They don't innovate. So what will happen very, very quickly, and is everyone ends up making the same looking thing, the exact same thing. And you're going to be like, you think the death of Hollywood is now. You think things are too generic now. Wait when everyone starts trying to make something with way too much of something. Like it's like the algorithms. They don't breed finding the thing you want to see. They breed making more of what the algorithm finds popular, right?
Yeah, but if
Like,
there's anything I believe, like, do I believe in an algorithm's ability to be creative? Not entirely,
but
but
this is
do
why
I?
everyone has a
But
thumbnail
do
face,
but
Jason,
do I
with the
believe that?
stupid Home
Do I
Alone fucking
believe
expression
that
on
you
it.
could set up cameras and record people at Disneyland over and over again and then have convincing extras and that's the first thing to go? 100%. That will be the first thing to go because it's already a style. It's not real. Extras aren't acting human, really, but they are doing things,
Well, and if we had
having
a
conversation.
real
Yeah,
if we had a
so
real federal government that cared to protect people, then they would go,
yeah,
okay, but the carbon emissions you're going to use to generate those images, right? Because AI comes with the cost. Like, look
but
at the NFTs.
a
Look at how much
futurist is going to say
fuel.
two things though, Rob. You have two outcomes towards the singularity. You have we hit the singularity eventually, or societal collapse. So it's pretty much those are the two realistic options in this. So societal collapse, it's happened. We know it's happened. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the rubble of ancient civilizations that we've built upon. So societal collapse does happen. Also stands to reason eventually it will hit the singularity. It won't collapse, and then it will make it. Maybe not this time, but maybe next time. That said, the very first thing that's going to go are extras, and then when you start to get down to a lot of like the real basic parts of Hollywood, like look at how doubles are used today. That's another thing that's going to go. Why fucking pay for a double? Why have a guy on set doing all of this, being a double all the time, or a lady on set, when you can just have a digital double of Tom Cruise, you know what I mean, or whoever it happens to be, and save yourself a ton of fucking money. And like that's what they're gonna eventually do. That's what it's about. And so there will still be the aristocrats for sure, the people at the top that are taking all of the capital. That's of course that will happen, and that's where I'm seeing what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be bleak. Singularities might not be great. Who's going to get fucking access to nanobots to clear the cancer out of our blood? Not me. I'm going to die, But that said, I get why they're fighting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that they should fight it because they have nothing to lose. And it's the old people who already have a bunch of money that are fighting it. It's the old people that have been in Hollywood for 40 years and are like, oh, well, here's what I think. It's because, they're at the top of it. So, but anyways.
Yeah, I hear you, but I just don't. How do I say this? What we're really talking about beyond, okay, yeah, extras and no, I hear you. What we're really talking though is about using AI to make complete visual effects and replacing the entire visual effect industry or actors and stuff. And I'm just going to tell you, it's just not going to go that way for a lot of. I guess you haven't been in it, right? Like, how do I describe? Like, okay, here, let me show you.
But here's the thing, Rob. Here's the thing that you can't get around. With enough time, the answer is yes, you can.
Well, you're going to need a singularity to figure out a fuel. There's a materials cost to AI. It's not just turn it on. It burns through silicon. And there isn't right now enough silicon to even keep up with the current demand. So the kind of...
Yeah, but you're 100% on this AI kick in what we have today. I'm talking in 2050, 2060.
Well, you're gonna have to figure out.
It won't be the same thing. It won't be what it is today. Today's AI isn't really thinking. It's just
but our computers are essentially still the computers they were 20 years ago. They're just faster. They're not fundamentally different. They're not radically shift changing.
Quantum computing is changing that. That's
you can't use a quantum computer like a scientist can, but
we will. The
average person, they don't. Jason, they don't know how to use
Rob,
the super chats.
I'm not saying.
That's why they don't give you money.
I'm not saying fucking Compact's coming back and gonna make quantum compact computers. Like I'm not saying that, but it stands. Yeah, it stands to reason that eventually
quantum Packard Bell.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is if we do hit the singularity, which I think we will. I think it's you know, I sooner than later, I hope, because fucking who cares what the system we have now? I don't care about it. So I say go ahead and burn it down. You know what I mean? Let it happen. That's what I say. But when it does happen, like all of that stuff isn't going to make sense anymore. No, all of the systems that we have won't make sense. So I think on one hand, they're fighting for a system that's going to die anyways. However, if it, let's just pretend it doesn't, let's just say it takes till 2070 to hit the singularity. Because, you know, realistically, things don't happen on, you know, our schedule. So let's just pretend like it's that bad. And it does happen that in that way. And in case you don't know, that's when all computers will pretty much be smarter than like all bajillion people on Earth. And we'll be able to go like, okay, how we'll be able to run calculations on how do we make nanobots? How do we solve cancer? Things like that. Processing power will get there. Some people do think we will hit a resource cap and it won't happen. Like, but I still say yes, but eventually it will. Eventually they will make it. And so the AI thing, even what we have now, they could today replace extras if they wanted to. They could do it.
Yeah, they'd all have 6 weird fingers and a stupid eyeball popping out randomly.
No, they wouldn't, because they went and they took everybody from the Mandalorian and scanned them.
They'll have dreads.
They're not.
No, we know one of those dudes got dreads.
They aren't AI generating these people. They're fucking stealing them because for $200 a day as extras. That's what they're doing. And so it's more nefarious than that. You know what I mean? So they can do it, and it's not, you know, not that hard to change bodies and heads and stuff like that and just make new people out of those parts, which is what they will do, you know. But it'll, like, anyways, that's what they're fighting over.
Some conservative that loves Santa is going to take that quote out of context, Jason, and say you're trying to replace real heads and elves and, you know.
Yeah. Well, they could eat my asshole, so we got that. That's a good start right there. Yeah, they could eat all up in my butt.
We're doing well.
So this right here is been the bane of my existence. I don't want to go into too deep of details for things that I've heard or things that my friends have heard and may report on pretty soon. I don't know. Probably not, because people don't pay us. So everybody's just gonna fucking quit pretty soon. This is going around, and it's this pre-registration motion picture. It's for Skeleton Crew. And it says that, like, it's going to come out in January. Now, without going into details about exactly the specifics as to why, we can confirm it cannot come out in January. It will not. It cannot. The train has left the station. Not enough time. It's not happening. So the debate on, are we going to get Skeleton Crew in? No, it's not. It's just not going to happen. It's too late. So don't hold your breath on that. Don't take a random filing that uses like January 1st to ever mean anything. Like, that's just getting it into the approximate year in which it will be released. That's all that matters for this. And these things are all like, oh, well, do you believe this is true as it comes out or as you file it? Yeah, okay. It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So let's just say Skeleton Crew will not be out very soon. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be. I would love to be wrong. Doubt it's gonna be the next show we get. I think it's gonna be that one that all of those ass-eating conservatives are saying wasn't even filmed. That will probably be next, which is Acolyte. Most likely, I would bank on Acolyte right now, but I wouldn't count on Skeleton Crew happening. Skeleton Crew, I believe it's already done. They might be doing additional visual effects on it and stuff like that. It's completely possible that they're, you know, have a very slow workflow on it. But I'm pretty sure it's done, because we were hearing about episodes being completed of it like by solid fucking sources like a long time ago, like months and months and months ago now. And so it stands to reason that just with that amount of time, all 8 of them are done, I would think.
Right.
The other, and this is a theory, a working theory that I have, and also kind of a hope, is that if there's more story to tell in Skeleton Crew, they may hold it back a little bit and go and film the next parts, because those kids aren't going to get any smaller. And so if they have a lot to do with the Skeleton Crew series itself, they may need to move forward on that one without having numbers to go, oh, well, it deserves it. They might have to go, do we think it's going to perform? And do we think we're going to continue on and do more? Because with that in mind, like I said, the kids aren't going to get any fucking smaller. And if they want to add anything, if they want to film anything, if they want to connect the seasons at all, you know, they may do reshoots and stuff like that and sort of phase it in. But at the same time, in the current climate of Hollywood, it does seem like unlikely that that will happen. But, you know, what are you going to do? So don't believe this. Don't count on this. It's not really, you know, very likely to mean anything at all. The description is, in the first episode of the Skeleton Crew, we are introduced to 4 kids who make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet and get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy, finding their way home. Now, this is exactly, essentially, what I've been reporting for a while. It seemed like at the time that they may be going to the place from Star Wars Ahsoka. At the time, I was digging on that because you know, remember, that's filmed at the same time as Ahsoka. So I'm like, is it the same place? And in all of my, I don't know what you want to call it, research, interviews,
So
scooping,
makes the whole events of Ahsoka worthless, because then those kids would
No, it
eventually just
doesn't.
found Ezra, right?
No, it doesn't.
And brought him
And-
home.
No. And
Okay.
but I never, and here's why, Rob, because I never got that one location from Star Wars Ahsoka was the same as this place here. I never got that it while they were up and building what are those little crab people called? Can't remember what they're called.
Rock
now.
lobsters.
The rock lobster planet. I never got that if they were reusing that or anything from it. And I don't see why you would film a show at the same time and then be like, oh yeah, and we're not going to use any of those sets we already have built or any of those like locations. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I never got a positive hit on it. And you can look at my Star Wars Ahsoka track record to see I had a ton of fucking hits. You know what I mean? Like I hit like lots. And that's one of the things that would have been, I think, low-hanging fruit, and I didn't get it. So if anybody tells you, "Oh yeah, for sure, bro," it's a foregone conclusion. It's not. Could it be? It could be, but also, to answer Rob's thing in Star Wars Ahsoka, we have a problem now. We have the kids are out there in Skeleton Crew, but we don't know if they go there. Then we have Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren are now trapped in the place that Ezra was in. Ezra's gone home and he's made it. They're trapped there. So how are they going to get home? Well, one way they can do it is Ezra Bridger comes back and says, guys, our Jedi are trapped there. We have to get them back. And then the New Republic builds their own Eye of Sion. Doesn't need to be that big because it doesn't need to bring a Star Destroyer back home. So it's not as expensive. And then they go and fucking get them. Solved, right? But with how the New Republic seems to work, that likely will not be the case. They will probably be like, they weren't supposed to go on that mission. We didn't sanction it. Therefore, we would be
Fuck them.
That would be the actual response. You know, for the most part. I mean, they win and they win. All of them win against. So, but then that makes another like side story or an episode for them.
That kid gets herself stuck in a well. That kid's on her fucking own. We're supposed to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they aren't. You know, that Kaz's dad. He's not gonna vote for them to go save Ahsoka. He doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
No.
What?
He,
I mean,
he really cares about immigration reform.
I don't know. I don't know what the guy cares about, but he doesn't. He's not a good guy. He's always an antagonist.
He wants a single voter vote thing. You know what I mean? He wants a single issue vote record. That's what he wants. Single issue. Gotta have.
But they probably won't say. But so you could end up with the ladies from there getting a ride back home with them, and then that being how they make it back. It's possible. It's possible the kids return home as heroes, having saved 2 Jedi, or and brought back a 3rd, and all that kind of stuff. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I actually don't think that is what's going to happen. I think it's what could happen circumstantially. It's it's a better theory than most people who make a ton of money to have fucking bunk theories have, you know. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I would bet against it. And in fact, we don't even know if they've actually
Maybe
come up
they'll
with
just fly
the
through
answer.
space like Princess Leia does in
Mhm.
The Last Jedi, you know.
Maybe doubt
Like
it.
they unlock the force whale ability, you know, and they just force whale it. Like,
Maybe.
okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the other option, by the way, is that they get in their ship, they get back into one of those whales eventually when one comes, and then they fucking fly back home. I mean, it's makes as much sense as the way that they got there, and it's a fairy tale, so fine, if that's what they do or how the story goes.
And
I
then
I
Favreau
don't
goes, "These whales aren't Aragorn, man. All right,
yeah.
like they
Well,
aren't the eagles from Lord. He's got a lot of Lord of the Ring puns these days. They're not the eagles. You can't just use a whale whenever you want. You know, like all right,
yeah.
okay.
I don't think that they have. I don't. Well, Favreau has nothing to do with it. Favreau's fucking doing Mando. I don't think Filoni just based
He's
off
not
of.
working, so he's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, he is. He's doing Mando 3 now. Mando 4.
Oh, my bad.
But based off of Filoni's track record, Filoni never goes, "Oh, I did it this way. Now I'll do it the same way in reverse." He's never done that in all of his. He's made 200 episodes of Star Wars stories over the years, and I don't think he's gonna go, "Well, season 2 is the same thing in reverse. How did they all get back?" I don't think he's gonna do that again, and I don't think they're gonna want to do Lost. I think it's kind of like Lucasfilm has this thing where something is the idea du jour and it's what gets greenlit and it's what gets made. And like it's the same thing with the fucking like, oh, angry or robots that are like K2SO. This ain't your dad's C3PO. These ones are kind of evil. Ha 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 ha. And then they fucking do it 8 different ways all at the same time and explore that. Well, right now we had 2 shows in production at the same time that are 2 different versions of Lost in Space. And so in my opinion, they won't do a 3rd season of Ahsoka that's Lost in Space to make a Lost in Space trilogy of seasons. I don't think they're going to do that. I would bet against
They'll
it.
do Inner Space and they'll go down to the Wills. They'll get
That's-
microbiotic.
Nope. They fired that guy. He called them white slavers on the way out. So I don't think that one's happening now.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. How dare you call this Dennis Quaid? Never bring that white bearded fuck here again.
Poor man's Kurt Russell.
Poor man's man. Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah. So, anyways, you're gonna see a lot of fake stuff popping up like about that. I bet like on 4chan there'll be like some leak that we'll have to look at in 6 months saying that's what happens, and it's just gonna be the fan math. At the end of the day, it's what it'll be, and the numbers. So Bespin's been doing the heavy work on this, by the way, but we've been going through, we've been crunching numbers. Mostly Bespin. I just sit there and go, do math. I say do math and he does maths because he's English. And I'm like, well, or not, he's not English. He's a Welshman.
That was MAFS over there.
Maths. But, yeah, but we were actually looking at what the numbers mean and got a lot to say on that. I'll do when he's free and we get the rest of a couple more pieces of data. And I would like to actually take that data to some sources too and just see like what they have to say on it, about it or whatever. But the one thing, without getting into that episode, that we can honestly just take the big takeaway is, in my opinion anyways, Marvel was always looked at like a bunch of standard standalone superheroes. And so under that umbrella, you just have characters that you can just sell. Star Wars has been half-assedly, that's what I'll call it, half-assedly, that's a new word, trying to do the same thing. How do we just make character IP awareness? But they don't really do it. They don't really try that hard. They just call the show Book of Boba Fett, so Boba Fett's name in it. They call it Star Wars Ahsoka. They call it, and it's like, are these the best titles? As we always say, they're not. But what is the project? But what is the bigger like methodology? And it's that they want to do the same. No, it's Marvel. It's what Marvel has done.
Oh,
If I make a
Marvel.
movie called Wolverine, I don't need to explain to you who Wolverine is. Culturally, you know, in the pop culture, who Wolverine is. If it's Captain Marvel or if it's or Captain America or any of those characters, like you generally know who they are, like the big ones. If you see the Punisher's skull, you know that's the Punisher. You don't need a bunch, and then it all goes into this one moniker of Marvel loosely. People don't really even conceptualize it that way necessarily because a lot of people like will only like one character, but Star Wars doesn't get that.
Yeah,
leisure.
don't call it Breaking Bad. Call it White.
Walt. Yeah,
Walt. Like that would have been way
Walt.
better. Walt. That would have
Yeah.
been way better.
Yeah, so
Would have really sold the show.
I agree with I agree with Lucasfilm wanting. I agree with the project, but the way that they're doing it, like I said, it's half-assed. It's lazy.
Someone said the last show, like, so your problem is with the branding. And I'm like, yeah, the fucking name matters. If it wasn't called Star Wars, if it was called fucking Idiots in Space, you know what I mean? It doesn't sell the same way. Jaws doesn't work. Man, what if it just said the shark?
You know what also
you know
doesn't
what I mean?
work though? Like whenever I go on like a little YouTube Odyssey watching Star Wars people, and like their whole thing is it's called Star Wars Ahsoka, but it's all Sabine. If your whole argument is based off of that, once you've said it, then you need to move on and then evaluate what's on screen. And they don't. They just get hung up on this fucking thing. And it's like but it's all because of that. I mean, they're idiots in my opinion.
Lucasfilm does that to themselves.
I'm also gonna say Lucasfilm is fucking lazy, but it's also lazy analysis just to make your whole 2-hour YouTube show on that.
I get rolling the dice a few times, but when you're 3 to 4 years on this planet and it's just the same thing over and over again, at some point you're like, really, guys? You can't. No one thought to just like the Marvel guys were quick to throw AI in their shit, but no one thought about all this other stuff that's pretty obviously needs some effort put into it. I think it just helps sell the themes you're trying to sell. Like you really push that the story is pushing actual theme and it is actually pushing concept. Let your title reflect the concept and the theme. It will sell. I mean, that's why we're stuck in fans also perpetually wanting to know what other characters will appear, because it's become too much about the characters, not the actual event or story or anything. It's timelines and characters, cameos and characters and cameos. It's gonna have the lore, not gonna have the lore. What lore is gonna have? It's like just fucking everything has. When you go see a painting, there's a story to the painting, a mood, a tone, a theme. You sit, you observe, and you ponder. I mean, it's like you take that away, and it's just like characters appearing in and out. That's the worst of comic books. That's the worst, and there's never enough. You go down the comic book trap of now you got one special guest appearance, and now you have to have 6 special guests, and now it's just an event comic, and then everything becomes an event. And you can see this in Marvel, where it's like once you have that big event, now everything it's called hot shotting in wrestling. Once you do that, fans get too accustomed to that, and then anything less than that isn't special. But then that also isn't special anymore. It's kind of it can really burn through your whole business.
Lucasfilm's version of that was digital Luke Skywalker, like the Ahsoka. You know what I mean? And now they're having to use Anakin and that kind of stuff. But Bespin sent me this right here is a Disney version of using AI extras. I mean, some of them look how fucking creepy that one is. But once again, like my point is, yes, this is embarrassingly bad and it does look like shit. But given 20 years, it won't be. You know what I mean? And it probably could be better today if they wanted to make it better. But anyways, so they go and then they like name these shows that because they want to make their characters into a brand. They want that character recognizability, and they have it on a couple. But the characters who they have it on with Star Wars by default aren't characters you classically can get a show out of. R2, 3PO, Chewbacca, Yoda. You know what I mean? Like you could do Yoda, it would be
great story.
But you know what I mean? You could it's possible, but once again, that's where they're at with all this. So when it comes to the Ahsoka numbers are back, or they're kind of out. Like I said, Bespin was doing maths on it, and at the end of the day, no, it's not great. The numbers aren't great, but what the numbers I think are showing us is that when it's a character like Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, characters that have that for Star Wars, then those shows are a given for a big, huge showing up on Disney Plus.
No
Ahsoka
matter the
Tano,
quality, they'll show up for those characters. That's the real takeaway. Fans don't actually give a shit. Yeah.
No, it's not that fans
They
don't
can
give
look
a
stupid,
shit.
but I'm gonna watch it.
No, it's not that, Rob. It's that they will stop in to see if it's going to be good or not. And then it has nothing to do with the value of the show itself.
Do you think
the people who show up, like, they can make the worst Star Wars movie that comes out, it's still going to make $400 million just because of the amount of people who know who Rey is.
But do you think
It'll be make more than that,
we should stop? At what point do they stop reporting box office receipts and start reporting box office views to make their, like, the Flash gets more views because they can go, there's 250 people per theater times whatever. This still got 7 billion views worldwide, and they don't tell you the actual money it lost. Do we go that route? Because that's how I feel. It's got Batman in it. It's got all the big characters called the Flash.
Yeah,
it had 1 billion views, but it made $57 million. You know what I mean? Like,
but the point that I'm trying to make is that Star Wars has to do a lot of growing. And that's where I think most of the YouTube commenters are like, oh man, Obi-Wan Kenobi had 11 billion, I don't know what it was. I'm just gonna make up numbers. 100 million minutes, a bajillion minutes, and Ahsoka only had 100,000. And it's like, yeah, because Ahsoka Tano has been, when you actually look at it now, it's been a bubble. It's an internet bubble of hardcore Star Wars fans. And so the fact that it did what it did actually is kind of slightly impressive, but also it tells them, yeah, do characters from the movies that everybody knows. And it's kind of, it's
nothing else.
Well, no, I mean, what it comes down to is that they need to either shit or get off the pot when it comes to the fucking thing of making your, trying to make Ahsoka into a household name by naming the show after her. They have to actually like invest in doing this and make name. Well, what I mean, because we are always going to see it as Star Wars. We are seeing it as Star Wars still. We're seeing it as a new Star Wars show, not the new, Wolverine show, the new Ahsoka show, the new whatever. They don't have that luxury because they haven't had like 50 years of fans picking and choosing what they like and disregarding the rest. They just don't have that luxury. Star Wars fans are that
but the movies in which those characters that got famous were originally in weren't called Boba Fett, or it wasn't called Luke Skywalker. It was called Star Wars.
That's why
New Hope, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. It wasn't called Star Wars Luke Skywalker. So I don't agree with any of this theory. I just think it's kids who've come out of college trying to find a way to just dumb it down because I've talked to these marketing people and people don't understand.
No, Rob, I literally know why this stuff is called this. Like, it's not my
right.
theory.
And I don't agree with that. The people are as dumb as they think.
But that's why but see, they're not doing it because they think people are dumb. They're doing it because they want their intellectual property to be name brand. They want
no one knows who Ahsoka. Yeah, but I've had many people. I've gone to the barbershop and I'm like, they're like, "What's it about?" I'm like,
"You understand you understand that we agree, right? We're on the same page here. That
correct. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with the fictional person out there.
But it's because it's a real person who came up with the idea. There's a real. This is a real plan.
I know. I meant metaphorically the fictional marketing person. I'm not trying to single out one person at Lucasfilm at someone. Then Santa goes and docks.
They thought it was going to be easier to go in and make Han Solo. Everybody knows who Han Solo is, and everybody will just turn up as if it's Star Wars, as if it's called Star Wars. That's what they thought, and they've been proven more and more with every single thing that it's not that easy. But like I said, there is still this haphazard attempt to make that happen, and they need to do it or not do it. They need to like go in and just stop using the Star Wars title. Only use the Star Wars title on the films and make it where it's like, yeah, it is a Star Wars product. That's where we come up with these stupid shit like, oh, we want to call it Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Star Wars story, because they want you to know it's Star Wars, because they're a little scared
Marvel,
that you might
Moon Knight.
not, you know.
They don't do do they do Marvel? They do Marvel
If you
Studios.
if you asked any of my like family, I feel like what are the Marvel films called? They couldn't tell you it was the MCU. They couldn't do it. They wouldn't know.
Right.
They know the Avengers and they know Iron Man. Like I said, that's what Star Wars wants. That's the dream. But their ability to go forward and to make that into a thing, it's going to take them actually like just investing in that concept and being like, yeah, we're not going to use the Star Wars moniker on everything. We're going to actually push the stuff and grow it. But that's where they're at with, that's what Ahsoka ends up being like a testament to. It would be incorrect to hold it up against Book of Boba Fett or Boba Fett Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is me conceding that Mando itself is a runaway phenomenon, mostly because of Grogu and the simplicity of the or initial storytelling. But outside of that, like, I don't think they have any of that, kind of leisure, which is what I like about Skeleton Crew, though, is it's like Skeleton Crew is like that group of kids. It's the Goonies. It's not called Chunk. You know what I mean? Like, it's the first time in quite a bit that at least something is sort of going in the right place, But they could have called
It's still
it
going to be called
Space Junk.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew. They're going to put Star Wars in front of
Of
it.
course.
There's no
Of
way.
course they are. No, they are. They are. I mean, that's already happened. We have the logo. Like, we know that. And in that instance, that right there is the only product on Disney Plus that isn't following that project. It's the only title that doesn't adhere to let's get brand recognition from Kenobi. Let's get brand recognition from Boba. You know what I mean? That's the first one. And that's because it has absolutely nothing it can't pull anything from those elements. But they're in a weird place with that shit, in my opinion. Like, they need to do it or not do it, Shogun, thank you for the $5 super chat and for being a channel member as always, man. I don't know, guys. They can call it whatever they want. For it to be rememberable, though, it's about the story, the vision for me. Yeah, and that you're talking about like lasting. You're making a quality, assessment here. I'm talking, how do you get some fucking Joe who just sees the fucking busting drive by and go, I want to watch that? You know what I mean? Like, that's more of what, like, that's Ahsoka's
And to sign up
uphill
for
battle.
Disney Plus, because that's honestly what they're all looking for. And they can say they aren't, but they are looking for new subscribers.
That's what Disney's looking for.
Right.
Lucasfilm's agenda is to appease their overlords at Disney, but then Lucasfilm also has their agenda for success. That's not always in step and in tow with Disney. You know what I mean? In my opinion, most of the time, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Like, overall, like with Disney and Lucasfilm, they're kind of always it's weird. But they have the fans need to understand that Ahsoka didn't do Kenobi and Boba numbers. It just didn't do it. And it's because Ahsoka wasn't in any of the Star Wars films. She's known to Star Wars fans in our bubble. She's known to Star Wars fans, but she's not known to people outside of that bubble. And I can tell you, like, people actively reading Star Wars stuff all the time. I'm not talking about the people that go, The Force Awakens is out now, here I am. I mean, it's probably 250,000. That's probably like what you can like hope to get online. And of those 250,000, they all know who Ahsoka is, and you would think she was, the biggest character.
Yeah, and they all do endless videos about how you guys are all stupid, and this is the way for where everyone knows this, and this would solve all the problems. And I'm like, that's not the numbers you're talking about.
Yeah.
Take it back to t-shirts. People hate when I do that, so I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
You go to Threadless, and you're like, look at this. We watched this happen 15 years ago. Like, look at these sites. They got these brilliant designs. They're totally different than anything you can get at a store. So our parent companies bought those companies up. They bought the Mighty Finds, they bought the Threadlesses, all that stuff up. Then they find out that them fucking shirts don't sell
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of copies at Target. They sell 100 like they do online, maybe 1,000. 1,000 sales ain't what they're looking for. They're looking for 10, 30, 50,000, 100 over year, not novelty purchases in the thousands.
Yeah.
So in order to boost something up, Ahsoka should have been like the Obi-Wan character in the sequel trilogy that would have given her a giant boost, you know,
Sure.
saying, hey, just because I watched a cartoon for 10 years, everyone knows what it is just it's just not true, man. Like, hey, you want to know something?
It's a
How long
numbers-
was
it's a
Harley
numbers
Quinn in
game.
Batman cartoons? How long was Harley Quinn in Batman cartoons? And did she save Suicide Squad financially? No.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's a number. It's a numbers game.
How about her own movie, Birds of
hold on,
Prey?
I'm
Didn't
trying
even
to-
work.
Yeah, you made
Sorry.
the point. No, but I'm trying to say that they like, you know, a bajillion people see a Star Wars movie. A Star Wars episode of the cartoon capped out at about 3.5 million.
Right.
And it's the same 3.5 million for all of those Clone Wars episodes that are watching. It's not like
And you're
new
assuming those
3.5
kids were really
millions.
even paying attention.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, no, but so you do end up with that, like we, you know, when we have like around 11 million people watching the episodes of the show, like that's good. That's not bad, but it's also not the same as what a Kenobi is gonna do in reality. And so we need to make the distinction between a true legacy character and your favorite fucking character. That's nothing to do with, you know what I mean? Like the fan. Ahsoka could be the best. She'd be the best Star Wars character of all time, but nothing's going to change the fact that she doesn't have 9 films that are bolstering her myth, her lore, and her action figures and all of that stuff. It's just not the case. And what Bespin says is this is the best thing. I don't know if you wanted to go there, buddy, but you went there. Ahsoka is more comparable to Andor at the moment regarding numbers. As Andor and Ahsoka are kind of twins. And what do both characters have in common? What we just said. They're not in most of the films.
But Andor was only in one movie when Ahsoka was there for 10 years and she was Anakin's Padawan. Average person doesn't think Anakin Skywalker had it. That dude died. Him and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker. She doesn't exist in the minds of the average person, man. It's just confusing to people.
Right. And
that Lucas created that problem and that exists to this day.
And that's what they're working on. That's what the greater project of this whole thing is. That's why you go and you make a series called Star Wars Ahsoka and call it that. It's about making her a mainstay. It's about Minnie Mousing her. You know what I mean? When I say Minnie Mouse, everybody knows who I'm talking about. I don't need to say Disney, Mickey Mouse's girlfriend. I just say Minnie Mouse, you know who that is. That's what they're trying to do with these characters. But I don't think they're doing a good job with that for the most part. And like Andor, Cassian is in a Star Wars film. But also his show is super serious. He's a supporting character. He's like a co-lead in that film, but I would say not even actually the lead. I'd say that was Jin. And so, you know, a little bit more of an uphill battle on that one because it doesn't have lightsabers in the television show and stuff. And so, but look at what this one had and look at how the numbers are kind of the same. So I think that.
And people mostly just remember Darth Vader from that movie, Jason. Just be honest. Like, you bring up Rogue One, what do people talk about? Vader. He's the one thing at the very end, you know?
Yeah. But once again, that's still in the same bubble. Who knows who Ahsoka Tano is? I don't know if that's normal people or not. I don't know if normal people remember. I have no idea. Like if they think of it in those terms, or if they even remember the movie from 2016 at this point. You know
normal people don't even remember we had COVID. You know
yeah.
I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, no, but no.
Started
Well,
on that.
I know you're making a kind of a joke on that, but it's at the same time the before times and the after times of COVID feel like a whole different lifetime in some ways. Like it's kind of weird, like in a way, not making a value judgment on the Rise of Skywalker, but the Rise of Skywalker coming right at COVID was like the old times and the current times. And it's like that one falls off, I think, even harder, regardless of the value of the film, because of what happened of this new era of fucking of the world coming right after it. You know what I mean? Like 2 months after it's in theaters, we're like in a whole different fucking place and a whole different reality. And so it's like, yeah, so does that stuff get to permeate into the pop culture? Not really. I don't think so. but Andor successful in terms of quality, but not the hugest show when compared. But both of them have the same thing going for them. Ahsoka and Andor, original characters, and the numbers don't compare to the shows that have action figures from when we were little kids. It just is what it is. It's weird. And then here's a bummer story. You know, here we go. So the costume designer, this is I think you say it Trepsic. Shauna Trepsic, remember, the longtime Lucasfilm costume designer who worked on Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, and Book of Boba Fett has passed away.
Oh no.
Lucasfilm is, and if you remember, we had that leak of the Praetorian guards from Mando 3. She's the designer of that art that we showed. She did all of that stuff. Lucasfilm is deeply saddened by the passing of the extremely talented Emmy-nominated costume designer Shauna Trepsic, who envisioned some of the most iconic costumes from the Star Wars series of The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. Born in Artesia, California, that's about 2 miles from where I live. She received her first costume design credit in 1990, steadily building her career on scores of productions, both large and small, before finding a regular home on Lucasfilm Productions, beginning with the second season of The Mandalorian in 2019. She was considered something of a Star Wars historian by her peers, reading every making of book she could find to better understand the techniques used in film during various eras. In her studies, she specifically sought out material that included discussions between George Lucas and his designers and concept artists, which became the foundational ideas of never-ending research into Star Wars costume design.
Yeah.
Trepsic, Trepsic worked
yeah, I
closely.
said just give her a choker, and Anakin he'll eventually choke her, right? That's the who says I can't write humor?
You said it, George. Trepsic worked closely with showrunners, producers Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, as well as the entire cast and crew on The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, approaching her work with surgical precision. Shauna had deep love and appreciation for Star Wars, says Filoni. You can see that in every piece of work she did with us. She loved everything about being a part of these stories, including connecting with fans and being a part of that community. Her Instagram was really good. She would like be upfront, like, here's what we use, here's why we used it, and stuff like that. It was good. I feel like she has always been a part of Star Wars. Her costumes tell a story, providing the suggestions of a life experience that happened before the cameras rolled. I loved collaborating with Shauna, and I will miss her presence. And then Favreau says, her creativity brought this role to life. She will be deeply missed as a friend and as a colleague. Trepsic was nominated for an Emmy for her work for The Mandalorian Season 2 and The Book of Boba Fett, and won a Costume Designers Guild Award for her work of the latter. She's currently nominated for an Emmy for her work on The Mandalorian Season 3. And then it says, our hearts go out to Shauna's family at this difficult time. So what a bummer. Because, there was a lot of, I guess, like strife, I don't know, conflict on those last seasons with the costume department. And she did a good job. Like, her designs are good. I don't always agree with what they gave her to be able to pull off the vision. But she did. The designs of the costumes are good. I mean, you could look at, like, this is another little sideshow I want to do with Bestman episode is the costumes that people use in Fortnite are telling. It's strange. Fennec Shand is more used than the beloved original trilogy characters because the costume design is good. The kids don't necessarily know or care what it's from. They know what the design is. Do they feel cool when they're playing it? And a few of her costumes do that and are played far more than you would think. The numbers are on the Fortnite costume shit is surprising, and it's big numbers too, like huge numbers of people that are using them and playing those things. So it has to do with the designs, at the end of the day. And so yeah, that's a huge bummer. So I guess
Sorry to hear that.
if there's I mean, yeah, I don't mean to say there's a good side to it. There's not, but I'm excited to see who they have take her place. and what they bring to the table. You know what I mean? I think that it's not her. She brought so much to the table. Whoever it is next is going to bring a new flavor and a new approach
They'll
to the
just AI
costumes.
generate her. Like, no, they
Eventually.
won't. They'll just copy.
Eventually,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Generative fill production design.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it will. I mean, I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, like there will definitely be trends. You know, like I think we could just look at food. You have artisan food, and then you have your processed dog shit that people consume in mass levels all the time.
Do you
And
think when the
entertainment's the same.
singularity happens and they say, hey, we want to make a Book of Boba Fett show, the singularity goes, no, that shit's stupid. Do cat videos. No one's going to watch it. Like, do you think it just suggests
Yeah.
the minimal amount of effort possible for everything?
No, it would find the most creative solution, which would be make the Book of Boba Fett, but with cats. Mm-hmm. And it'd be like, and then like the cat
Book
will
of
want to
Lil
rule.
Bub?
Lil Bub. Lil Bub Fett.
Lil Bub Fett.
Yeah.
Lil Bub Fett.
Yeah.
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 Careful what you wish for, singularity.
Yeah. That makes sense. No, I mean, you know, like don't get me wrong. I'm not saying any of that stuff is necessarily like here today, but it's about what is the technology going to look like in 20 years. And that's what the actors are having to safeguard themselves against. And you know, there probably is a way of integrating these things. I'm not afraid of. Donald Glover just did an interview recently. They didn't talk about Lando in it, but he's like, I'm not afraid of AI. He's like, I think AI, yeah, it could definitely be an evil, bad thing for us, but it could also be a good thing. You know, it's a tool, and it depends on how those tools are used. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, in theory, if we gave everybody like a butter knife and had them cut, you know, boards with it, we'd get a lot more work for workers, but we make electric tools. You know what I mean? We use technology to make our jobs easier, and saws and stuff like that. And so you could see it from that perspective of these things could just be tools to get things done more efficiently and cheaper, and maybe more. AI policing.
Yeah, but the tools weren't trained off the labor of someone else's efforts and then given back away freely. So it's a bit of a different conversation.
But well, that right there, see what that ends up being. What I find funny about that is that that whole thing is sort of based off of this like copyright perspective, and it's what they use. Like, do I think it's right that people make a character and then, you know, profit off of it for 20, 30 years, and then it becomes a part of the pop culture, and then now Disney gets to own it forever, and they own our culture and our stuff? Can we not tell Little Red Riding Hood because Disney owns it? I think that's fucking insane. I think that's capitalism fucking gone off the fucking deep end. And when you do work for these kind of companies and you sell your labor to them, you've sold your labor to them.
Yeah,
They
but when
bought
you write a novel called Game of Thrones and they just decide to feed it to their fucking machine and, you know,
Mhm.
and not tell you, and then
Yeah.
spit out a machine that can produce a copy of Game of Thrones in some weird
But
form, then that's not something you sold to a studio. That's something that they stole from you and
right.
built something based on that. It's not the same thing.
Look at it from Disney's perspective. They don't need Game of Thrones. They don't need it. They can do it with, they own Fox, they own Lucasfilm, they own the whole Disney back catalog. They own
They aren't that
enough.
smart. They can't even put Die Hard on
No.
Disney Plus in America. So
They will. That's one of the things. By the way,
you just wait long enough.
You were
10,
wrong.
20 years.
You were wrong again. Disney Plus is going into Hulu, or Hulu. They're merging. It will be that way. The only thing that is
You're being facetious. I told you that.
I'm not. No, you said it wouldn't happen. You were like, no, it won't.
Yes, I did. No, I said it should be one thing. That was the whole point. Why there is two fucking things. No, I've been saying this from the beginning. There should be no Hulu. There should be no Hulu and Disney. It should just be one fucking thing. So I've been saying that since day one. This is ridiculous.
Anyways, the hold up on it not happening for Americans at this very second right now, Iger confirmed, is just because they have old deals that are still lingering. So as time moves on, it will become the complete like Hulu, Disney
Yeah, and that's
Plus
what I said.
thing
They
in
said there
one.
must be some kind of licensing or distribution agreement on these projects that forbid that from happening, or blah blah blah.
But so, anyways, so yeah, that's why that
Wasn't
we
wrong
have
on this.
that.
Like,
That's why we have that
whole point.
that kind of situation.
But how long does it take to recoup on a $70 billion investment that way? Like, that's just a bad deal. You're like, hey, we're gonna get all this stuff because he came out there before Disney Plus comes out and says we're using this to fill Disney Plus with all the shit people know and love. 4 years later, yeah, we're waiting for these agreements to die out in 10 years.
It's like when you make something and you give it over to the culture, you say like this thing is culture now. I think the people own it at that point. I think that's how it should be. I just think we live, like I said, in a crazy capitalistic world where it's like all about property ownership on everything. Everything should be owned. That's neoliberalism. Make everything into a fucking thing. But at the same time, it's like, well, if I believe that, then do I believe AI should only have access to it? And because I see it as going, if it goes that way, I think everybody should have access to throwing it all into the blender, you know? If all of it belongs to the culture, then yeah. And then at that point, if people are creative enough in their use of the tools, then who needs Disney, right? I mean, that would be a reason that you could do it that way. Of course,
well, AI ain't gonna fucking make their theme parks.
What they will control is
No.
the modes of distribution. They'll make it where it's haphazard to put your original thing onto any platform and sell it and move it. They'll make it difficult for you. That's how all those studios will come together and stop you. So Bestman says Rob has always said he wanted the merger. At the time, Iger said it would merge for a one app experience. Rob said he didn't say it. It's just the bundle. Nothing to say for yourself on that one?
Rob said he didn't say it at the time. I don't get what I'm trying to say. I've just said it should always be one fucking thing. I don't know what you guys are fixating on.
I just remember
about
you
what,
saying,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Iger said
never happened.
They bought Fox to put all that shit on Disney Plus, and then it ain't on Disney Plus.
But it is for everybody else. It's not us because we're huge weird babies who.
Great, everyone else in the world has fucking universal health care, but that doesn't help me any. You know, when I got a fucking $1,100 doctor visit to look at my foot. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
Like, I don't care what the rest of the world does and doesn't get. I'm just saying it makes no sense.
Yeah.
And by the way, I canceled my Hulu subscription after Only Murders season 3 was over. It's a fucking useless app, dude. Like, it's so ridiculous how many times I've gone to Hulu and it just, you click on the new episode and it gives you a cache memory error, and then you refresh your cache and it still gives you a cache memory error. And then sometimes you just refresh and it will work. But then they make it so before the end of the episode plays, 30 seconds while the show's still going. And by the way, it's a murder mystery, so shit always happens right at the very end. It minimizes your window and shows you an ad for some other show. You know? And I'm like, fuck these guys, dude. Like, seriously, you got to let the fucking show at least play to the very end before you minimize the fucking screens. I have to always, one second. I always have to re-X and then roll it back 30 seconds, you know, and pray it doesn't try that stupid shit on me again. Like, this is not who
Singularity, Rob.
Fucking experience.
Singularity is going to fix your app, Rob, with enough time.
No. It'll find a way to monetize those clicks and make me do it 7 more times. I don't believe the Singularity is going to work for my benefit.
No, that's the scary part about Singularity stuff is who is it going to work for? You know, who's going to get immortality out of it? Maybe not us.
Bestman.
You know,
that's when he'll win.
I don't think so. I think he goes
Bestman's
first.
time to shine.
I plan on outliving him. You know, laughing, loving.
I don't know. Costanza, I think, is the survivor of the group.
You think it's the survivor?
Yeah.
Did you see that they're gonna make more Seinfeld?
I think they're gonna make a Super Bowl commercial. I don't think they're making more Seinfeld.
If he went and teased the Super Bowl commercial, Jerry Seinfeld could also eat my ass. When Iger said Hulu and Disney Plus would merge for a one app experience earlier, when Iger said Hulu and Disney Plus would merge for a one app experience earlier this year, Rob said that Iger didn't say that, and it was simply the Hulu and Disney Plus bundle. Rob always wanted the two combined.
Yeah, I said he didn't say it at the beginning. I don't know what the fuck he was saying at the time. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what I always thought they should do. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But the scary thing to me ends up being when you have the ability to use AI, and then the corporations call, oh, we're copyright holders, so it's all ours and we can do it, but nobody else can. You know what I mean? And then that's where it gets like, but at the same time, we put up with a lot of stupid shit just because we get used to it, because we like the Disney logo on it. Like, I want unlimited Star Wars until I die. Do I think it's actually like the best thing for the medium? I don't, not really. But at the same time, it's, those stories are just going to be in a Star Wars skin instead of something original. And what's the value of that original aspect of it? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do know, like, when I go and I watch like something like what's like Loki or something like that, like I could just see like, oh yeah, look at all the Mobius inspired art, and and then look at how it looks. Then you can see Star Wars' influence coming through, and it does all start to kind of like look the same, which might set itself up to hang itself. Like, you know what I mean? When everything is pulling from the same stuff, and somebody just says, we're going to come at this from a completely different angle. That might be what leads to a paradigm shift. So, it's possible. But what's Dixon saying?
This kind of happened in the 90s. Hold on one second.
Because Dixon says
Little
it's a
phlegmy
cool
today.
idea, but when those movie shows were created for the sole purpose of making new content for a streaming platform, it will lack in creativity and soul. I think it's safe to say Lucasfilm, Disney's best ideas are not going to be on Disney Plus. They're going to make it to the theater. So to some extent, the best that we could hope for is what Filoni is doing, which is the lead-in to the film, not putting it all, not doing Catalyst as a book, doing Catalyst as a Disney Plus show, then getting Rogue One.
That's what I said from the beginning. You set it up, and then you knock it out with the movie.
But
the problem I have with the way they've been setting it up is they don't actually have the characters have conversations about shit that they're actually experiencing in that series. They have them spend all the time doing shit to set other stuff up, and that's where you're like, you get the setup by having them.
That's going to be
a Lucas thing too, man. Like, like that's a bad thing to learn from George Lucas.
Well, everybody likes to put Filoni up on the pedestal. He's in there. He's the, and when you hear Disney execs, he's one of them. That's what that is. That's what that looks like. It's not just a bunch of guys with cigars in a smoky room going, all right, how do we make it woke? You know what I mean? It's not what really happens. But it is, that is a part of it. But then it's like, if you had Tony Gilroy doing it, then it's not that, because that's how that flavor
I wanted
works.
to get back into things looking all the same, right? So it's a conversation I had with my animation professor in college. He was a guy that was at Disney, started on Oliver and Company through Little Mermaid. He did a lot of the bulk of the animation on the Paul Abdul cat video. Remember that one? Opposite the track.
MC Scat Cat, you motherfucker. Have some respect.
He did that. He did work on a bunch of those like Rover Dangerfield. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, Right. And then King of the Hill, he worked on all the initial storyboards and shit for that.
Dave Filoni was
so
on that
pretty
too.
So I had this conversation. It was that how come in the 90s all the cartoons kind of like had their own look, right? Bobby's World had a look, Batman animated series had its own look, Doug had its own look.
I think it was
Rocko's Modern Life.
I think Ren and Stimpy came in, was like, that was the paradigm shift.
Yeah, that was a paradigm shift. But why did that stop? And he said, here's what happened, because he was there for this. And he's the one that helped sue Pixar and won over stealing Mike the eyeball from the guy who does those Rat Fink cars, right? People don't know about that, but they stole that.
They stole that.
So so he said what happened is they would go and find a new artist who had a cool style from Cal Arts or wherever, right?
Yeah.
They bring them on and go, oh, we're going to make this look of the show your art style. And they go, oh, that's so amazing. And then they would own that look. They would go, yeah, we own this look. And that artist couldn't get work anywhere else.
Right.
After that show. And I think that specifically happened on Bobby's World. Like that was something that happened behind the scenes legally.
I almost
like,
worked on Bobby's World.
What, when you were 12?
No, when I was 18, I did a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah?
Star Wars character animations, and I went to Film Roman for a while. And I
Yeah.
got to like, and that's where I got to like shadow the dude from The Simpsons. I said,
I see.
got to trace some lines on the episode where Skinner isn't Skinner.
Correct.
That episode.
Yeah.
And then they were making Bobby's World, the King of the Hill, and I think Dave Filoni was there. I think he was there.
So I think now
Mhm.
they're just pulling from looks that are pop culture, right? We all know a look,
Yeah.
right? But bringing someone in to create a new look, and this happened most recently in the Spider-Verse film. If you look at the creation of the first Spider-Verse film, there's a Spanish, or I don't know, get his ethnicity wrong, but there's an artist they brought in, and he did all the initial design work.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow magically they boot him off, right? But keep the look.
Yeah.
And he's the one who really created that look. Like it kind of happened the same way. And it's like, if he brings that, if he does, because this is him being him, and if he goes somewhere else and you're the spider, that's the Spider-Verse look. Like it's a real problem. Like I don't know what to do about that. Something happened on the Hellboy animated cartoon. Yeah, that happened with well, I'm not going to get into names, but friends of mine that worked on there, vice versa. Yeah. Happened there too.
Jake says, speaking of Loki, is Star Wars really hard to make music for? Because Natalie Holt's Loki music is so good, but I hated her Kenobi stuff. Yeah, that's what happens when you bring in the composer. So up front, the issue everybody has with Kenobi that for some reason will not be acknowledged by like the commentators is that Kenobi wasn't cheap. Kenobi was as expensive as everything else. Kenobi had really great numbers. Where did Kenobi fail? It failed in a lot of the music and it failed a lot of the visuals. Why was that? It was time. It wasn't made. It didn't have as much time as everything else did. So you have Natalie Holt come in. They're like, hey, Natalie, do it. And then while she's in the middle of it, they're like, oh, slam on the brakes. Hold on. Johnny W is coming back and he's going to make the Obi-Wan theme. Now you got to make that work. And so on. And she was just,
and she doesn't compose in a Williams style. And she has a unique style.
She's her own style. She's not a John Williams fucking fan girl who just emulates.
And people were looking for a sequel to the prequels, sequel to the prequels.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have that kind. It doesn't even have. If it didn't have the themes, it doesn't have the Williams kind of sound, right? The saga-y sound.
On top of it too, though, when you go and you take something from the Kenobi series and then you drop in Duel of the Fates on top of it, in my opinion, it doesn't work. You can't do it. You can't just go put Duel of the Fates in because that's the song I know and I like, because the visuals aren't living up to what the audio is doing.
It feels like a temp score in some ways, right?
Yeah,
like
it would. You would have to do like a MIDI recording of it. You know what I mean? When I say MIDI, I mean like the orchestral, but not the full orchestra. And then you'd have to make it smaller and feel smaller and less dynamic to suit what you're seeing. And so I feel bad for her because I think she is really talented. I think she's really good. I hope she gets another crack at Star Wars.
Well, we read that
own
we
terms,
did that interview with her, and I was like, she got shafted.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. It's like, and then on top of it, Williams gets like, he gets his like, oh, I get to say what goes and what doesn't after that, and leading into the stuff that's his and all of that. And then he has his guy who comes in. So when you get down to it, you have John Williams writing the single for it. It's not the greatest single that he ever did. It's kind of phoned in.
It's not good.
And then you have Natalie Holt trying to go and do the music, and then you have the other guy who does the heavy lifting for Williams that is in his advanced age. Can't remember his name right now. He did a lot on Force Awakens, so you guys do like him, believe it or not. And but he ends up you just end up with something that's rushed, and that's what's that's been the sort of the enemy of Star Wars. And where it's like where I ultimately respect Kathleen Kennedy is her ability to look at like something and go, this ain't working, this doesn't work, we're gonna get it right, and then personnel changes need to happen sometimes for that to happen, and she's
I don't
fucking done
know.
it. No, it is the
Indiana Jones.
yeah. So you're saying they should have fired Mangold because they did? Is that
Yes.
no? That's
Yes.
crazy. No,
Fireman's gold.
the
Hashtag.
problem with Indiana Jones is the $100 million experiment that doesn't work, that you can't roll back at the beginning of the movie. That's the I watched it last night actually. I was like, you know what I mean? And I say I enjoyed it a lot less.
And the
last
dumbest
night
name ever.
when I watched it. But yeah, well, we could agree that Lucasfilms, across the board, the titles aren't great.
Dude, branding's not a problem, Rob. I'm like, really? Dial of Destiny. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a terrible title. It's my least favorite title. In fact,
just hear this spoofy version of Stanley. The Dial of Destiny.
I don't feel like I don't like the episode 7, 8, and 9 titles. I don't think that they fall in line with the first 6 titles. They don't do that throwbacky serial-esque noir kind of, like, they don't have it.
The Last Jedi is pretty good. It's not complicated.
The Last Jedi is a good title unto its.
It's better than the Phantom Train of Doom. All right, you don't want that.
That's what you get. That's where you get the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I know, but
Which
I've gone
everybody
through
hated,
those.
and it's
I've
great
personally,
title.
no, I liked it when it came out. The title before I saw the movie.
Yeah,
but I went through those
but everybody
Republic
did hate
serial.
it.
There's not a
But
lot of Republic serial.
I was online that night when it came out, and it was universal disdain.
I remember
everybody wanted it to be the Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted.
Heir to the Jedi or some shit like that. I was hearing that one at the time. Yeah, it was all that stupid shit.
How about It's an Abortion, Michael? A Star Wars story.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So damn, you threw me off, dude.
Sorry.
What the fuck was I saying? I can't remember now. Oh yeah, there's not that many Republic serial movies, to be honest with you. When you look them up, it's like 100.
I don't fucking know them. I'm not gonna. I've seen them.
I have because I've written shit, and you go through.
I put some on, but I'm not a fucking expert in it. And most of the people that are calling that have never even fucking watched one. They just saw the opening crawl in the beginning, or whatever it's called, that pack-in documentary on the original trilogy for the DVD. They saw the opening crawl. Like, oh, I know what that is. It does the same thing.
And the New Hope doesn't fall in line with that either. So it doesn't fall anywhere in the Republic serial. A New Hope falls in line with The Last Jedi, like pretty much.
Fair. Yeah,
it's right there. So
yeah, I think that's more of George Lucas having settled on that before. I believe A New Hope was settled by him before Empire Strikes Back, which is also in contention about where that title comes from, because it does seem like it was Gary Kurtz's idea. You know, there's evidence that it was Gary Kurtz's idea. But Gaming Kitchen says Reva was an unnecessary character. No, she wasn't. Reva's character in that script, the point is, how does Kenobi deal with his failure? She is the product of that. Her life is ruined. She's put onto that path of either having to die or become this Inquisitor, and whose fault is that? Ultimately, from Kenobi's perspective, it rests on his shoulders. Atoning with Reva at the end is him atoning with the children that he let die in the Jedi Temple in that thing. So no, it's not.
The execution was really poor. In a better world, the idea of a Padawan surviving Order 66 and some like a kid surviving a school shooting, and then growing up to hunt down the NRA or something is a hell of a story. You just need someone that can tell that.
Well, yeah, I heard this like fucked up story yesterday about this. I think it was in India. This boy is on a train, gets R-worded by a man, and then thrown off the train to die. This is like a true story. And his eye is all fucked up. It looks like afterwards he almost dies. He doesn't. He gets it, but then you know what he does? He grows up to take on his rapist's identity. Takes his name, his gang name, on as his own, and then becomes a leader of children, and then does the same thing to them. Like, lives out his trauma on these new kids over and over again. You know, it is a thing that actually does happen. I'm not saying Reva in that story was going that way, But yeah, there's like
She is
definitely
an inquisitor. She is
she's an
now
inquisitor.
murdering people.
Yeah,
So
she's married a Jedi.
there is a story there, but it's not fully fleshed out, and it's in the wrong series.
Mm-hmm.
You do a Riva story, or or something called, after, or you know what I mean, something like that. And then that's an interesting story to tell, where Kenobi is now like a side figure that appears in the
Mhm.
film that has to deal with it, right? But trying to merge the two, you need almost 12 episodes with better writing to make it work. There's just not. It's that's a very dramatic conceit that
Yeah.
I guess you could do in a movie, right? Like in 2 hours. Obviously, movies can be told in 2 hours, but you need a far better set of writing schools than Joby Harold. Sorry, no
Well,
offense to Joby, but like, I mean, same
Mhm.
thing like Munich. I don't think Munich should have been written by fucking um, Simon Kinberg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not being mean to Simon Kinberg.
But
It's
you
just that
don't
it's
know.
not.
But you don't know until Kinberg
No,
writes
I
Munich.
know.
You
I've
know,
seen. I've
the
I've
game
I've,
Gaming
I've been
Kitchen
in the room
says.
with Simon Kinberg, and it's not impressive. So
Gaming Kitchen says, let me rephrase. How she was written in the story made her come off unnecessary sometimes. And like, yeah, like in my opinion, the idea of the character is also better than, as you say, the execution, for sure. And like it is something where you would to fully see the idea through, you would need to go Tony Gilroy on it. You would need to have Riva coming home and going into her quarters, and what's it like when Riva gets, you know what I mean, takes off the
yeah,
Inquisitor uniform, gets in her PJs. What is that? Where is her headspace? What is her like
and
before that?
and
What is her
continuing
plan?
the shot,
You know?
continuing the
Yeah.
shot in the opening when they go out there and following her survival, following the whole massacre through and her survival of it, as one continuous thing, not something you cut out of and then talk about it later. Like,
Yeah.
that to me is robbing that character and the audience of the drama of that whole thing. Like,
Well,
doesn't mean you have to be violent. Like, you don't have to have blood and kids screaming it, but like, that's a real world problem kids are having to deal with right now. That's something that really hits home for a lot of people. And it's
yeah.
like, go there. If you're gonna
They had to
do it,
put a
go there. Otherwise, don't.
they
Like,
had to put a disclaimer on the episode because like it was
yeah,
coming out like the day that something once again happens almost every
yeah.
day now. But yeah, KM220 says Reva's story would have been a great storyline in an Inquisitor series, and that's the whole problem with calling it Kenobi with that method. Is in a lot of ways that is the Inquisitor series. That is the B story of the Kenobi story is the Inquisitor series. But because we're branding it this one way, that's completely just like not accepted. Even though objectively, if I erase the title off of it and I make you do a book report and you want an A, you're gonna say that's what it is because that's what it is. And now once again, it gets hung up on all this stupid shit. Like, this not really look like in the cartoon and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I don't really give a shit at this point. Like, I care about like what's it doing, how's it doing it, how good is it doing it, and but that's the problem with the thing we're talking about at the start of the show. That's what happens when you decide I'm gonna call everything after a character's name. Is then you have your den of nerds types like, or like let's start a race war and pretend like it was a bait and switch and that kind of shit. It's just like, oh my god, yeah. Oh, we all know why they're doing it. Wink, wink. And those kinds of games.
But
And
Jason, it's the only other show I watch. But you're watching a shitty show. So go watch Double Toast. It's a better show.
I don't know. I don't know.
I know. I know. I can recommend it.
Aria says, what was Kenobi's budget? I don't remember what it was. I feel like it was like 130 something million. I don't remember. But once again, the budget doesn't matter. If I give you $200 million in 6 weeks to make something,
You spend it on. You ever try to get something shipped overnight? You ever try to get something shipped overnight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Oculus.
What's the difference?
I know. I decided because they're putting that like new Switch out, and I had like a bunch of old Switch stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna trade in my old Switch stuff towards the Quest 3, and that way, just do like a trade in on it. That way, give it to Luke for his birthday. His birthday's in a couple days, and go and do it. It's still not here GameStop. I hate you, GameStop. You're the worst. I thought I
Too
was gonna
weak,
have like
you know?
I thought I was gonna have like a weekend, like when I don't have the kids, I can just play it, get it all out, put it back in the box, and I set it up for you, son. And nope, it won't be here until Sunday or Monday now. So good job, getting something on its launch, GameStop. But
I
yeah,
really dislike GameStop, by the way. I
You shouldn't.
rarely go out
Yeah,
there and
it's
say
not.
that about
Mhm.
a retail store because I know how necessary retail is, but fuck GameStop. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, ever since they would sell you a used game at new price without its original case, like it'd just be sitting, they'd sell a new game,
yeah,
right? Opened
Yeah,
at
they open
new
your games.
price, and it's opened or without the original. I'm like, this is fucking, what is this
Yeah.
place? Like, no, I
So
can't do that.
something big that's going down, that's going to change the industry pretty could change the industry dramatically. I don't know if it will, but I think it will. Is the volume. Now Epic, the people who make Fortnite, are the people who made the volume. And for the use of, what is it, Unreal and all that kind of stuff and all that shit, they're going to start charging. If you look at the credits for any of these Star Wars shows, you'll see that Epic is the tech support. They're the people who run it. The people who, and I would imagine this whole time they've hired them on as like a consultant in some way, and well, now to actually use it, they have to pay Epic, and that's starting now. So that's going to, I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to charge. I don't know. Does that mean the volume becomes inaccessible to independent filmmakers? Does it mean that Disney, it could be good for us? Disney might look at it and might go, well, we could use the volume on this, but the truth of the matter is, for 10% more, we could do a practical Mos Eisley or whatever it happens to be for Kenobi and not do it in the volume. And, well, we'll get a better result. Yeah, we'll just
Or
spend the money. I don't know.
does Epic take a stock share tumble and Disney just buys Epic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the volume. I was listening to Greg Fraser, the cinematographer on the Batman, right? And Dune and oh, not Dune. Dune's Roger Deakins.
Man, I wonder if
But,
you'll ever
the
work on
Batman,
Star Wars, Rob.
Rogue One, right? Mando.
Oh,
And
amazing.
the first version of the LED tech they use on Rogue One with the the cockpit stuff.
For the
And he did a 2-part discussion on Roger Deakins' Team Deakins podcast.
Mhm.
And he was talking about how he's like, look, I helped develop the volume with Epic or Unreal or whoever, right? Like he helped build it with it. And so it was about getting light to work, how to get lenses to work with it and everything else. And really, really interesting conversation about that and his feelings about the limits, where he goes, wouldn't want to do a whole movie
Yeah.
with that, and you're like,
Mhm.
or a whole TV show, right?
Yeah.
Because there's certain real limitations. And there was even a conversation of like, what was it about? It was like, is it possible to use the volume in a way like, I thought, man, and this is months ago. It was like a month ago. I like listened to this, but
Yeah.
anyways, I recommend that conversation, folks. Like, put it on. The first part, I think, is more interesting than the second part. The second part's about like film lenses. I don't know if you guys are gonna be that interested in film, but the volume shit's in part one.
Well, like like we need to be kind of real about assessing the volume over the last like years. Like when you get down to it, like look at what Lucasfilm has done with it, and yeah, I would say if Kenobi was the benchmark for it, it would be don't do that anymore. But
his whole point was
at
that
the same time,
being
like Ahsoka,
being able to hold.
I'm okay with Ahsoka. I'm okay with it. It's not my preference. It's not. But if it's like we can do a show or we can't do a show, and the show's going to look like Ahsoka and just be that, fine. I'm fine with that.
Well, his whole take on it was, being able to have a time of day and be able to hold on that time of day for an infinite amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Which is always a problem, like in shooting. I think of the scene in Terminator 2 when Furlong and Schwarzenegger, they're outside. It's when they first get off the motorcycle chase sequence and they pull over to some random street.
You're talking about Uncle
and have
Bob?
a conversation. No. That's later on in the movie. In the first in the movie, there that chase sequence between them and the big, the T-1000 chasing with the truck, right? That whole sequence, and they drive off. right? The big at the mall. From the mall, the chase sequence, they drive off.
Yeah.
After that scene, they come to a random street and stop. And it's like at sunset, the magic hour, and they have a conversation for like a minute or two. Okay.
Mhm.
And that scene, James Cameron was talking about how like they had to just go. Like they had to do it in one take. You know, they had like 30 minutes to shoot, like they had very minimal time,
Yeah.
one camera setup, blah blah, no coverage. And it's like, yeah, him in the scene works, it's great. But like getting that light was only possible by moving that fast. And so the volume allows you to not have to worry about moving that fast. The problem is that then they go, well, they ignore like that aspect of it. And then you get like these all over lit shows. Like I think of specifically Mando season 3, like the Coruscant stuff, where they're not even lit in any remarkable way, even though they're outside indoors, they're in Coruscant, like the ice cream pop sequence to the train to the Star Destroyer shipyard, they're not lit in any compelling manner. It's just being used to fill in for compositing work, you know, that at the end of the day, you know, people they catch on to it quick. They can tell the difference between that and the Coruscant scenes in Andor. You know, like you're like, this is a colossal difference. You know?
Yeah. So Jonesy says, unfortunately, there are many actors who are hired in roles because Hollywood has to be politically correct in their casting. So that right there, though, that's not politically correct. The people that run Hollywood, who own all of this shit, all of a lot of your Disney execs and your board members and all that shit, they are the most on PC people you will ever fucking meet in your life. It's about money. It's about the fact that customers will pay for things that when they see themselves in it. That's what it's about. It's not about anything else. You know, that whole saying, go woke, go broke, it's not fucking true. It's actually, don't go woke, don't make as much money as you could have. And
yeah, you know how Kevin Smith made his money? By putting people in those movies that reflected like me and my friends, right? We're like, oh shit, look, there's a bunch of comic book nerds in a movie, you know, like you're seeing yourself. It's another version of that.
The important point here, though, is that in Star Wars acting, with the scope of these stories, the actors that you need, you know, you don't need the guy who played Lincoln to play every part in Star Wars. And that actor who played Reva is a very, very good actor. And
yeah, she was in the Queen's Gambit. She was really good.
But they don't make that point when it's a light-skinned person. It's only when it's a dark-skinned person that we get this over and over again. Is the Sabine actor better than Reva? She's not. I mean, I don't mean like as a person or a human. I mean, as an actor, the performance itself. Was it better? It's not. But I do not see everybody dying on this hill over it. I don't see it every fucking day. And, you know, I don't mean to say like Jonesy's a racist. That's not what I'm saying. But I can't deny that they're not saying the shitty acting in Star Wars gets let by all the time. She didn't even act bad in it.
Yeah, was Sam Jackson a diversity hire in The Phantom Menace? No, it was a Sam Jackson hire. He just had nothing to fucking do. Like it's not Sam Jackson's fault. You know, he has to sit there and give him the stink eye for fucking 90 minutes, you know?
But
like,
I just fundamentally disagree with the idea that Reva was like black because of a diversity hire. Like on that thing, I just don't think that was the case. You know what I mean? In that way, I just don't think that that's what happened in this instance. In fact, I don't even see an instance where her race matters at all in the story itself. I don't. They could have hired, and I think if they had hired some other white lady to do it, I don't think it would be the same. I don't think it would be the same discourse. And I think that if the people who propagated that discourse knew what they were doing, I'm not even saying that they're racist. I'm saying that they're fucking opportunists that are willing to squeeze super chat money out of the small-minded racists, and they don't care if they make the world a worse place than that, or the fandom a worse place.
Look, if you sell Nazi memorabilia, you know, yeah, are you a Nazi? No, but you're selling Nazi memorabilia because you know there's an audience for it, so you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You know?
and that's exactly the best analogy I could have ever thought of. It's a good job. Yeah, that's it right there, and that's what we ended up with, and that's why I'm just like, like why does that one not die? You know what I mean? I personally see that level. I see worse acting and worse characters in Star Wars since Riva, and before.
Look,
And
I love Benicio del Toro,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to defend his performance in The Last Jedi for me. Like, I'm like, I don't know what movie you're in, buddy. I like him when he's not talking until he talks. I'm like, oh no, oh no, no.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the when all is
Love
said
him in
and done,
Sicario though, man. Jesus, man, what a performance.
yeah,
Huh?
and I like Kenobi.
Yeah.
I like Kenobi. I think it's I'm glad that it exists. It's not like such a I don't like when I watch what's the Galaxy here? No, that's the game. Whatever that fucking like those TV shows, those cartoons that they make. I watch those. I feel dead inside. I feel absolutely nothing. The Kenobi thing, I was intrigued. I'm glad that it exists. Do I
What
wish it had
cartoons
been
are you
done
talking
better?
about?
Fucking the one with like the blue fucking Ewok and all that kind of dog shit. Like they could just slap Star Wars on something to me and go like, oh, this is fucking works for me.
The
It doesn't
blue
work that
Ewok?
way. Yeah, you don't watch the show, Rob. It's a cartoon. But like
I watch
it-
cartoons. I just don't watch your cartoons.
no, it gotta be Miyazaki or nothing.
No, I watched
Okay.
Nichijou, man. I was just watching Nichijou this morning. What are you talking about?
I'm fucking around with you. But
Topio.
no, but it just when you get down into that like that all or nothing attitude of everything needs to be this is Star Wars. It made me come the first time I saw it, and if it doesn't do it for me again, then I'll
Roka.
never watch it again. It's just like grow the fuck up. Shit's gonna suck sometimes in certain ways. Things are not everything is black and white. Not everything is fucking perfect. Some things are good. Some things aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the problem though here, and this is where I get super animated about it, right?
Mhm.
Is when I'm like, they only get like one shot at getting these people back together sometimes,
Yeah.
and then they go and squander it. You only get one time to make the prequels. I'm sorry, you're not going to be rebooting this stuff. You get one shot, and so it's like, make the most of it, man. Like seriously, don't be like, well, we'll just do it later. It doesn't really matter. It's like, no, those things do matter. The execution. I tell you, I don't really care for the execution of Luke talking to Obi-Wan about him lying to him in Return of the Jedi, but the conversation was had,
Yeah.
and it wasn't bad. It's like,
Rob.
all right, it was something all my adult peers, when I was, my adult family members were laughing at point of view. And then as a kid, we would use it. Well, it's from a point of view, like, all right,
Yeah.
wise ass. Like,
Well, I would encourage any hyperbolic Star Wars fan to somehow watch the new Exorcist movie, and then look at the sequel trilogy and fucking.
I would say Exorcist
and
is not on
hug
the same level
hug
as Star
J.J.
Wars.
Abrams, because Jesus Christ, that could have went so much worse. I mean, like it is. Oh, that Exorcist was so awful.
The bummer with JJ though is how much I enjoy that first Star Trek movie when I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has a giant glaring plot hole. Like the Romulans did not sit in space for 20 years. It did not just, and there was something cut, I know, but that's not in the movie, so it's irrelevant.
Mhm.
But if everyone's having a great time, you go, all right, I'll let that one go,
Yeah.
Where it's hard to let go when you're like, we've been looking for this ship for 30 years. I can't find it. It's right there on a hill. Like, all right, that's not
Yeah.
sitting out there, damn wide open.
Yeah,
Like,
Royal
okay.
Fino says most YouTubers who say that shit know what they're doing. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they know.
They're fucking they're
Which is
dog
why we
shit.
shit on them.
Yeah.
Because
That's why they could eat my butt. They get attention and they get super chat money subscribers by pandering to racists sick of seeing diverse cast. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I'm gonna
that's
rewatch
exactly
the Queen. The Queen's Gambit season 2 is coming out soon. Can't wait. I'm
Yeah.
gonna rewatch it. I love the score to that series too, man. That is like the most X-Men-y show that's not X-Men. The Queen's Gambit, like it really is. She's in a school with children. She's got superpowers. She plays chess.
I mean,
like,
weird girls taking pills is a fun show. That's what I'll say.
Shut up, my wife. She's not catching on to it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, the
But
production design's great. You know.
yeah, no, it's a great. So what they're actually doing more Queen's Gambit though. They are.
Yeah, there's a second season. That's Scott Frank, dude. He's one of the best writers there is. Man, Scott
Yeah,
Frank.
I don't
co-wrote
like the
what movie was
idea. I like her. I like that show. I'm like, that's one of the ones where I'm almost like, that was good. Maybe it was good. You know what I mean? Hopefully there's something to it, but hopefully there's an angle that's just not. Well, it made a lot of.
Do not
numbers.
underestimate Scott Frank, dude. Like,
I mean, it's not that. It's not it. I underestimate the
Scott Frank
scope of the premise.
He wrote
of,
Get Shorty,
you know,
man. You know.
Yeah. No,
he co-wrote Logan with Mansgold, dude.
All he needs to do is do Queen's Gambit, and I'm like,
he should have been.
You know what I mean?
Had Scott Frank been working with Mansgold on Indiana Jones, we wouldn't have had half our problems. Just letting you know.
This we would have. Nothing would have changed. Nothing would have changed. Nothing was going to let him title it, and nothing was going to make ILM's failure.
Specifically, the title
for is all of the clapping I do for ILM over the years. Indiana Jones, they failed Indiana Jones in the opening of that movie. They did not pull it off. It didn't work.
It would have been called The Curious Case of a Fucked Up Face. That's what Scott Frank would have wrote.
Indiana Jones is becoming a baby?
Yes.
So Arya says, is Filoni scared of using unique environments outside California, or what's his deal? He has to somehow learn how to do this for his movie, unless that's a volume movie, hopefully. So once again, you're putting the economics, the reality of the economics onto Filoni. Do you think that Filoni wouldn't go film Naboo in Italy if they would give him the money to? He would.
Right.
Are they going
That's not
to?
his call.
No. So he's going to end up filming it in Southern California on that backlot in El Segundo and using the volume. Like if he ever.
By the way, you know who trained people to do this? J.J.
Mhm.
Abrams.
Mhm.
Specifically on Mission Impossible 3. It's how they got the budget down. That whole bridge sequence, that True Lies like bridge sequence they did with the drone in Mission Impossible 3 was shot on a backlot in LA. There's no giant bridge sequence with, it's all TV magic. It's all compositing trickery. So like,
but we're
it
never
is
gonna
possible.
go back. We're never gonna go back to doing that on Disney Plus. Like, you're not gonna send people for Disney Plus to Italy to film Naboo. You're gonna do it for the movies. And you're
look,
gonna do it for
Jason,
the European.
the fact of the matter is, I actually had Hayden write a giant flea on Attack of the Clones, and it didn't look as good. So we went with the digital flea.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I had him actually ride Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, we had him down the back of
people
Flea.
don't know George Lucas actually invented that Willy Wonka technology that makes that little cowboy kid small. He did that, put him in TV.
Yeah,
and,
well, first we did it with the kid from the fat kid from Goonies. We sucked him up a tube, and and that was all fun. We all had a good time. Short round. He laughed. We couldn't stop.
With how incredible Rogue One and the sequels look, the standards are high for Filoni. But once again, like, Rogue One and the sequels are films that cost a hell of a lot more than an episode of the TV shows. It's just not like, that's just not like a realistic way of looking at what you're going to get. It's like looking at Firefly and saying, why doesn't this look like Return of the Jedi? It's never going to.
Well,
why does the comic book I'm reading look like the film? Because
AI could make it look like the film. I'm working on that now.
It's a different.
I'm doing some experimental AI comics. We're gonna do even more American Graffiti with Opie and a good-looking Harrison, not the
special edition
weird
Redux
fugly version we got now. Yeah, Fugly Ford. That's what I call him. He doesn't like it, but I
mean,
don't care.
Realistically, I think I'm curious as to how this goes when the films come back. The question I have, when Star Wars films come back and we're getting them, regularly, and there's no end in sight. Do people still turn out for the Disney Plus shows in the same numbers? Are the Disney Plus numbers that we're getting for Ahsoka, is that the true? I'll watch it all if it's fucking live action. Is that what that reflects?
Well, I own that stock, so by hook or by crook, I'm going to make sure they go get those subs. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fun, Jason. I'm going to go play a Fart Night. Yeah, I'm going to go play Fart Night.
Fortnite.
Bye.
Redux. Yeah, no, but that once again, like once we get back to films, they're not going to go and throw their most expensive shit out of Ahsoka season 2. They're not going to go and say, let's not use the volume now. Let's
I
literally
have a
get
problem
people
with the
out
way
there.
Ahsoka season
I
one
don't.
looked. I have a problem with
Yeah,
just the story, like the writing.
yeah.
I want to get.
That's
I want to.
that's
This
not
is where
what
I want to segue before we go.
that's
I
not
want
what
to
she's talking
segue
about though. She's not talking
to the
about
Hollywood
that. She's
Reporter
talking about
story because
how she's talking about how it looked, and I'm saying if we're just talking about looks,
Rise of
it's never
Skywalker looked like
it's
dog shit in scenes compared to some of Ahsoka stuff. Like the whole
I
Mustafar
don't
bit,
know.
that's not film worthy. That's barely 1990s music video worthy.
No, it's the
Like
same.
go watch the
It's the
Metallica Mission
same
Impossible 2
place.
video. That looks better than the
It's the
opening to
same place,
Mustafar.
the same crew, and the same look as where Maz Kanata's castle goes down. It's the same exact. It looks the same. You just don't like
No.
it. That's a
Yeah, I
value
don't like it.
judgment. But that's
Looks like
that. But it
shit.
looks the same.
Dookie.
The problem is that Mustafar isn't Mustafar anymore. It's not on fire anymore. They didn't tell you that. And then it
No.
looks like Maz Kanata's fucking planet, but they're not telling you that either. It's like okay,
Dog shit.
Taco Dog.
And the that sand cave they were in on the set, that was pretty bad too.
Mhm.
That was as Disney Plus as it gets. When
But-
they're in that sand cave.
But you're
Sure.
never going to I don't anticipate them throwing money at like an Andor, like how they did in that era when nobody knew how the industry worked and they weren't making films. Now Hollywood has decided that it knows how the industry works, and Disney's coming to some rude awakenings on how it works, on why things have classically been the way that they've been. And you have all these people who are thinking outside the box. Well, we're going to reinvent the wheel every single time, and sometimes the wheel worked fine for what they're doing.
That's why I want to bring up the Hollywood Reporter story so we can have our crack at this conversation before we go. But so the Hollywood Reporter, it's a Bill, I can't remember his name, good dude, wrote a whole thing on Marvel basically rebooting the Daredevil series, right? Rescrapping, what do you want to say? Right. And it basically was a larger context of the way they've been running Marvel TV at Disney Plus. And from what I can glean based off what Snyder said and my own intuition was at some point Chapek came out and said, we're going to have 4 series on Disney Plus from Lucasfilm and from Marvel a year, no matter what. Now, Marvel at the time was currently making movies. So now they're doing 4 series and 4 movies a year. Right. And Lucasfilm at the time is just not making movies actively, like they're developing, but they're not actively in production.
Yeah.
So slightly easier for them in that respect. But the way that was getting done was they were just giving $150 million budgets to an executive to oversee a series. No showrunners, no series Bible, no no pilots.
But that's not how Lucasfilm works. For the record.
So I'm curious to know,
that's how
like
Marvel worked. Yeah. So it's what
right.
Marvel
So
was
I'm
doing.
curious to know though, will there be a shift at Lucasfilm? Given because there's no way there was a series Bible for like Book of Boba Fett, dude.
Yes, there's a series Bible for all of them. And we even on top of it have
show it to me.
Acolyte we have from lawsuits, for instance. That's
okay.
series.
The tax thing.
Yeah. Oh, there was that lady who an executive who was like, "Hey, you want to come on?" And then she said, yeah. And then they were like, oh, oops, never mind. After she had already worked on a bunch of the Bible and everything. And then she's like, I need to be paid. And they're like, no, we're not paying you. You're not the executive producer. And she's like, yeah, I am. They're like, no, you're not.
Yeah, because they were definitely getting around showrunners on the Lucasfilm stuff, though. Well, there was no official showrunner. Like,
yeah, well,
that was one of the conversations that was being had too. There's no showrunners.
That's Favreau and Filoni doing the exec showrunning thing.
The executive, which is exactly what Marvel was doing. They were having an executive maintain multiple projects, which was a problem, and that's got to be a similar problem.
But where it's a lesser problem, I think, for Lucasfilm, is that those executives are also writing, directing on the project
poorly though.
And like, once again, you're making a value judgment that has nothing to do with production though. Like
The
that's
whole
a
point of this article is a value judgment that the quality of the shows
Rob,
weren't as
Mando
good even
season 1,
internally.
you suck its dick, okay? You say it's
I
perfect
do.
or whatever.
I do. I
Okay,
get right there down
then
all
once again,
twos. Like,
what does that prove though? That
Yeah.
proves that it's not. That proves that it's not a problem.
No, that's like saying it wasn't a problem because Lucas wrote one movie by himself once, so he should write all of them by himself. No, you were good that one time, but after a while, to maintain quality, you need to bring in an extra help. Like,
well, but we're talking about there not being a showrunner, or there
yeah,
being
but that's
a showrunner.
because of the volume of work too, man. Like,
but it's the same.
TV show's not the same as a movie, which is the whole point of the article.
Yeah,
you're making a 2-hour film is that the same as making 9 hours of television.
That's not what you're saying. Is nothing that cocaine won't fix.
All right, Rick McCallum.
No, I'm not fucking around. That's exactly how the industry works. I don't know if you know any producers, but if you know a producer who doesn't do cocaine, you found the rare one. They're all coked out of their fucking heads. That's how they make. That's
Jason's words. It's not my words.
No, I've never done cocaine. No, if it's the truth, they are all a bunch of cokeheads. They all do cocaine. Same thing with fighter pilots. That's why you can't trust it when they see UFOs, because they're all coked out of their brains. But it's
I don't think Doug Masters was on coke. But all right, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not saying who's on coke. I'm just saying they're on
Doug
coke.
Masters. Maverick was on coke. I saw the movie.
No, no, but I mean, like at the when you get down to it, Lucasfilm is having the creatives be the showrunners, and there's like a couple of them. And Star Wars, though, I think classically, you run into a problem like what has Tony Gilroy been saying? Tony Gilroy both proves and disproves both of our points. He's like, yeah, I could do this at a really high quality level, but I can't fucking do it. I'm doing 2 seasons and I'm fucking done. I can't do anymore. I can't keep up with it. And so Gilroy, but according to that would mean we cannot have serialized content that continues on beyond a very limited series. And they can't do that. They can't work that way.
They need to. There is more talent out there at Gilroy's quality, though. Mm-hmm. Like there are other people who can write and create, and so you bring them in to continue whatever story you need to do. But
what they want when you don't like it, I don't know if I give a shit, but I don't like you want when they hire Favreau, they're hiring a Kinberg, and I think there's a lot of Favreaus and Kinbergs that can be pruned from Hollywood. And then, but at the same time, the Tony Gilroy types, that would be great for us if they just did that. But that's not also, I don't think people would want Tony Gilroy's The Avengers. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what they kind of want to do, like with Ahsoka and that kind of stuff. And so I think it is kind of appropriate for an Ahsoka style show, for a Mando style show. And, when I take Mando
3 has shown me the limits of Favreau's writing.
Rob.
And Boba Fett.
But let's just take those 2 guys into account then. Mando 1, 2, 3, Ahsoka, and Boba Fett. We have mixed on Boba Fett. Some of it is good and some of it isn't. And then on those ones right there, you got 2 solid seasons of that. So when you get down to it, it's winning more than it's not. It's working more than it's not. We're just talking numbers as executives who want to make money. We don't care what they're making. We don't understand what a superhero is. We don't know what a Jedi is. We're just like at that level, that methodology is giving you stronger money and quality and content than it's failing. It does have its limitations, and it does. And I agree with your point. I don't think we really need Favreau writing anymore. I think he's, at least right now, I think he needs a break. I think he needs to just be the showrunner. And not be doing the creative thing. Like I agree with you. I just don't think that it's necessarily like I think that the Marvel thing to me and the Star Wars thing don't sound exactly the same. And we see that though across the board. Like there's people gush about the Marvel stuff all the time, more than the Star Wars stuff. And like Loki right now, I think is having like a pretty good thing. And I think
you're going to get a win statistically. You produce enough stuff. What we're talking about is the overall quality across the board. And is it too much? you know, and obviously too much is the one thing we can all agree on. If it was all great, it's still
Yeah.
too much. No one can follow all this stuff, you know.
Like Favreau should be on one Star Wars show a year.
Correct.
That's what it should be. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically. And then if he's gonna write them, now if he's just gonna run them, maybe story them, let somebody else do the writing and you know, the directing, and he's like overseeing it, executive producing it, and that kind of shit. Yeah, you could give him a living, you know, multiple series running concurrently, and you could try that. You could do it that way. But yeah, I mean, because like I'm with you in the sense that like I don't think it's the best way to go forward with this stuff. Like I would rather Filoni kind of handle his thing and Favreau
Well, it's
handle
also
his thing, and
not for nothing. It's not the way Marvel Studios started out.
yeah.
Marvel Studios started out with one producer would be attached to a project from its creation to its finish, and they wouldn't be on multiple projects. And so having a producer run multiple things says to me, so internally somewhere they were like, we can have one person do the job of 3. Right? That kind of mentality, you know, like I'm conjecturing here, but that's what it sounds like to me. And it's like, that's impossible. It's, you can't, you know, like that's not where you save costs, man. You save costs by not giving, you know, executives bonuses during a giant global pandemic. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Didn't Chris Yost work on Mando 3?
Who? Chris Yost?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he wrote on Mando 3. I don't think Favreau was all of Mando 3. I think his
not a fan of Rick Famuyiwa's work in Star Wars after season 1 of Mando, by the way. Just haven't been a fan of it. Wasn't a fan of his episode of Ahsoka either, to be honest with you. So no offense to Rick Famuyiwa, but not feeling it.
Rick, I mean, I don't know for certain, but I do think that it like he is sort of has his hands tied, and that they're like tossing a lot to him, but then he doesn't get the ownership that's needed to make it his own, to make it everything that it could be.
Well, he said he's the one who wanted that Buster Keaton ending for Mando season 3, and I think that's the worst shot in the whole series.
If the Buster Keaton ending though is ruining, I mean, it was lost for you.
It wasn't. It's after everything else that you're adding on top of it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that right there is one of those ideas. I mean, they probably filmed that before they filmed a bunch of the other shit. You know what I mean? It's like that's something to lose track of. But anyways, yeah, when it comes down to it too, like one of the things in Hollywood that's been changing is like how people are credited. We don't really know. There might be even other writers on these shows, and they're not getting credit because they're not getting to contribute enough to the final project. And then you have a rock star like Favreau take all the credit. I'm not saying that's what happens, but I do know about another writer that nobody knows about on a Star Wars project, on a Star Wars live action television show. And that's one of my first clues of, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Like realistically.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, yeah, I actually screwed that up. Season 3 had Clora and Filoni help out, but Filoni was also primarily working on Ahsoka, so he could only do so much. Well, no, they had already written those shows before. Remember that. Like, and that's the other thing though. I think though what you're kind of getting at or hinting at is that Favreau's a guy, a filmmaker, for better or worse, who could get into production without the shit having been fully written and done. And sometimes,
in my whole point to the article, to agree with the articles, you can't run a TV show like a film,
right?
And we're seeing these weird TV shows that feel like badly edited, like unedited 2-hour films, right? Like when a film, like you're like, hey, a film's got a 6-hour edit. Well, this is what it feels like, the 6-hour edit version of a film, where you're like, this is wildly all over the place.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't feel like a TV series. You know, like it's different. And had this all come out before, you know, the golden age of television that we've been living in, we wouldn't know the difference. But we've already been through Sopranos and Game of Thronesies and Breaking Bads and all this other stuff, dude. So we're in a different world. Like it that half measure is not playing out. And they want us to spend at times $20 a month, you know, $40 a month, $100 a month if you're getting packages and stuff. I mean, it's not little chump change here we're talking about for the average consumer, you know? Like,
I'm not gonna put it up on the screen, but Bestman just sent me like this Lucky Charms box, and when you it's like lenticular, and when you turn it, it turns into Loki Charms. And
they
it
finally did the
has,
Loki Charms box.
yeah, and
I wonder if
like
I hope that
but
artist got paid. The guy who did the
okay,
original fan art of that.
I hope he didn't. I hope he's destitute. I'm
I
kidding.
think he did it for Mighty Fine.
I'm joking. But we had, so somebody was asking in the chat earlier. I'm sorry, I lost it. I could look for it for a second. I can't find it now. Somebody was like, "What's up with the marketing? Like, are they just the worst at Lucasfilm?" Well, what's weird is it's the same people that are promoting Star Wars, that are promoting Marvel, and I think that what they have is actually a culture problem. I think that the culture of the people who are doing it understand Marvel and like it a lot. I think they're Marvel fans. I've talked to some of the people aren't there now, so maybe this isn't maybe my take is outdated. But just a few years ago, I was like having lunch with one of them, and they're just like bragging about, I was with Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Hemsworth said this, and he likes this on his buffalo wings and shit like that. And I'm just like, yeah, but it talked about Star Wars. They don't care. They didn't give a fuck. But they were also tasked with promoting the sequel trilogy and the films and coming up with the moniker of Star Wars story,
horrible
and so on, and the whole like poster angle on it and shit like that, where like when it's, they don't see that when it's a Marvel thing and they do a shit poster, it's fine because it's just promoting a character. But when it's Star Wars, it has this legacy, and it promotes this idea and this feeling and this vibe. They just don't understand that. You just can't teach it
you
to
can't
them,
one all fit, right?
Yeah. And then Steve Owen gave a $5 super chat and says, did Lucasfilm Promotions fail to promote Ahsoka well enough? Is the promotional department one of the worst? Oh, thank you. Actually, I was going to read it for free, but thank you. I appreciate the support, dude. Says, is the promotional department one of the worst? It's the same as the Marvel people. It's one and the same. That's the fucking part. But what did we have for Loki? We have this Lucky Charms box, Loki Charms. As Bestman pointed out to me, he's like, we have the McDonald's promotion. We have like things that get the word out in other ways.
I gotta tell you, man, you
we don't see
recreated
that with Star
1982
Wars.
McDonald's to accurate perfection, and you get robbed to watch the episode 3 fucking times.
Bestman says,
I'm a
over
sucker.
here at the moment, they're playing commercials constantly for the Samsung Galaxy S23, which is tied with the Loki and giving away a year of Disney Plus with it. The marketing for Loki has been great. So once again, it's like, and all I could say is it's primarily the same people. It's primarily, and when they don't do it themselves and they contract it out, it's the same people, same contractors. So I don't understand the lack of creativity.
I'll give you
I think it might
that the
have
same
more
thing?
to do with, I think it might have to do with the Lucasfilm licensing. I don't know if that's true, but that's the only thing.
Well,
I can
licensing
think
would
that
have
sets it apart.
marketing. That's so difficult. Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Well,
I'm not even gonna
the
conjecture.
marketing is using licensing in the Loki examples we just brought up.
The poster stuff that we see, these generic posters, reeks of the kind of licensing we would get from style guide art, right? It's like these which are third-party outfits that go and take pre-made assets and they make style guides for licensing. Then licensing hands those out to licensors who then do things with them, hand them back to licensing for approval. Licensing gives the okay. It feels the exact same generic things you'd get in those style guide packets. So as opposed to, say, commissioning a design house that specializes in movie posters to specifically make, like if they were to go to Mondo and say, hey, Mondo, we want something like Mondo would be making something tailored, right? These are like generic one-all things. So it's totally different feel.
Yeah.
The sort of way that I kind of like, this is coincidental. It was my birthday the other day. Don't say it. I just thank you. So I was watching the Turtle Power documentary, right? Again, the
really
Ninja Turtles one. It's called Turtle Power with Peter Laird, Kevin Eastman, right? And they do a really good job of covering the first Turtles movie.
Okay.
Get to the second one, and it's just Peter Laird going, you know what? They go to the third movie, and then Peter Laird says, you know, with the second movie, it was a step back. but they have the guy who produced the first film, right? And when that movie was a success, he's like, I had everyone calling me up at wanting the sequel, and I said, no, we're going to stick with the people that cared. You know, they stuck with New Line or Golden Harvest or whatever for the sequel, and the same people who made who got the same first film turned out the second movie. You know what I mean? Because they didn't understand what the first movie was doing. And I think these Marvel people don't understand Star Wars. They just don't. And I've been in a room, man. I've been in a room of all I'll never forget people who are of our age or older. So they were there. They were teens when Empire Strikes Back came out, right?
Okay.
The height of Star Wars popularity, right? You know, and in their early 18s, 19s when Jedi comes out or whatever. So it's like, and they're calling Star Wars Star World, you know? And I'm just like, what universe are you guys in? Like, there is this weird thing, Jason, and we were there for it, where after the hype of Star Wars, when they go, remember people go, this Rob's Avatar movie didn't hit popular culture zeitgeist. Well, Star Wars did, but 1986, 87, 88, it disappears. I mean, like it was like the Jedi disappear after the Empire shows up, right? Like it just people were like Star Wars.
And
they would act like they never.
No, and then it happened again with the prequels, and it'll happen again. It sort of felt like it happened again with the sequels in a way. Like the
like
TV
in
shows,
4 years, people act like that. When we were kids, they talked about like it was ancient history. Star Wars.
It was.
Like, that was forever
It
ago.
was.
But you're like
1983 and 1987 are two different worlds.
It's
And
so crazy.
just like how 2019 and a COVID 2020 are two different worlds. You know what I mean? It just is. It is. And so and like Lucasfilm, I thought they did a better job with Indiana Jones when they started doing they did like a lot of posters. They had artists doing posters who were actually like pretty creative and were pretty good at it. And they did throwback posters, and like there was stuff. They started to do some of the right things there, but it also too I can't say Indiana Jones came about in a cohesive, like it wasn't a slam dunk home run regardless of the success of the film. It also like it didn't have a lot of coherency and unity in the whole thing. It didn't have a flow to it that made sense. It was just kind of like throwing things at the wall to see what stuck.
Yeah,
That's what
Drew
it felt
Struzan
like.
does a good job. I've mentioned it many times on the cast, but if you get the art of Drew Struzan, it's a thin black book, not the au revoir giant white book, the thin black book. It's in Drew Struzan's words.
Yeah.
And he walks you through the first Raiders of the Lost Ark poster he did for Europe, the international poster, all the way through to Hellboy 2, the very last one. And he walks you through the especially
Struzana.
and he goes through the prequels and he goes through Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and his experience, like when it goes from him talking to George Lucas to him having to have a conversation with the committee at Lucasfilm. Yeah. This is pre-Disney, so you can't go and blame Disney for this shit.
No,
like,
I mean the people who do that just don't understand what they're fucking talking about.
Yeah,
George
what they
Lucas,
did to his Revenge
George
of the
Lucas
Sith
was
poster is ridiculous.
Was as an executive at Lucasfilm before Kathleen Kennedy took over, was like, no one's running the ship. He's coming in a couple days out of the week, maybe, if you're lucky. And then maybe he'll look at what he's supposed to and maybe he won't. It was wild. I mean, George Lucas effectively retired in 2005 with episode 3. And then hung out around trying to get other people to make his projects for him that he didn't.
But even then, you could say he had no involvement with Struzan on Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith poster. But with the first one, it was just a phone call from George, you know?
Yeah.
So like Lucas, like the photoshopping of Vader into the piece, he's like, I can redo the poster.
Yeah.
His whole point was he could redo the poster so it all works. So like, no, we'll just we have a guy who can do it. And they just photoshopped it in, and it still looks fucking weird. So you could see the original poster that he did in the Art of Struzan, and it looks just fine. Yeah. They only changed it because some asshole marketing's like, we got to Vader this up, and we need a really big Vader helmet.
A part of me wishes he posts everything, just went and did it perfect, and was like, this is in my collection. You guys could buy it from me if you want it right. And then they would eventually, you know. And we would get it right. I wish. I mean, I don't know what his health is like. Can he still do art, or is his health like an issue?
He can. He's just intentionally retired. He's like, I don't want to.
Okay.
The deadlines, you know.
Yeah. But anyways, we did it, Rob. I think we did it, right? We did it all.
I hope so.
We can go.
I hope so. One a week.
All right.
I like this. One a week, Jason.
One a week. Hey, yeah. I
Until
gotta-
there's real news.
Well, I mean, I wanted to do a show a couple of days, but I couldn't get the computer to start.
I mean, if you guys want us to do more shows, you're gonna have to start kicking Jason more money.
It's true. I need to get
Seriously.
a new computer because my computer doesn't work. And
Yeah.
I have to just restart and hope that it accepts that an exterior monitor is hooked up to it. And so otherwise it's going to take, in 4 or 5 months after I start my new gig, I'll buy a new computer. But until then, we're in a bind. And if this just stops working, then the show just stops. So it is what it is. Thank you everybody though for the super chats today. Thank you everybody for being a channel member. I want to do more shows. Hopefully we can. That's the plan. But it ain't making enough money to warrant it at the moment. So we'll see what happens. And but I'll try to schedule those shows out in advance so everybody knows that we're doing it. Like they don't miss it. Like today, I was like, Rob asked me, we need to do a show, and I was like about to say no, the computer doesn't work, and I gave it one last go, and it turned on, and I was like, it's destiny, and I was the bat signal, it's time to go,
The dial of destiny.
we gotta go, it's time. But anyways, yeah, so we'll be back pretty soon when there's big news, we'll do it and all that stuff, hopefully soon. And leave a comment if you want to, you have any questions or whatever. And we'll get to it in the next episode. If it's shut the fuck up, nobody likes you in your stupid fucking loud car. But we'll get to it. All right. Anything you got? Anything you need to put out there, Rob?
No.
Right,
Shopsketchcraft.com. Want to buy a print? How about that?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, you should put some of your art in the background so people can see, because you got some good Star Wars art.
No.
It's adorable. Little Princess Leia with all the video games. I saw it in a book. Saw it in that new video game book, that new History of the Star Wars video game book. I'm like, open it up, and I'm like, hey Rob, you're in this, right? They didn't just steal your shit, right? And then I read the book, and it excites you. So I was like, good. All right, everybody.
They just stole my shit.
We'll see everybody later. Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey! It's the end of the show. Come on, let's go. Hey! It's the end of the show. Come on, let's go. Hey! You should
Go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships. Hey!
Thank you. I appreciate the $5 at the end, man. Have a good night.